I built a retractable lightsaber you can actually duel with. What you're seeing is not AI, it's not CGI, it's real engineering. This design features a stronger, stabilized blade that glows insanely bright. It extends and retracts from the hilt just like the movies. It even uses a replica Graflex hilt. Now, after 3 years of prototyping, this saber can finally take a hit. And you can swap blade colors too. Better yet, you can make it yourself. More on that later. This is our best lightsaber ever, and it's even cooler in person. But 6 months ago, this was nowhere close to duel ready. The blade wobbled in every direction, gears were cracking, and the LED strip kept breaking. And less than 24 hours before our biggest real-world demo, the saber started smoking.
Whoa, what was smoking?
So this is how I built a retractable lightsaber that you can actually duel with, and how it almost completely failed. For the last 3 years, I've been trying to build the best lightsaber possible, with materials everyone has access to. Why? I've been obsessed with Star Wars since I was a kid. I grew up playing with lightsaber toys, but I always wanted to make a real-life lightsaber. With each prototype built, we got closer to the vision. The saber went from a bulky box to a replica Graflex hilt, from a half-lit tape measure to a full brilliant blade, and from a slow activation to a lightning-fast ignition, just like on screen. But there was one thing still missing. Our previous lightsaber could lightly hit things, but it couldn't survive sustained dueling. And the comments were very clear. You wanted a fully duel-capable version. So I gave myself a mission. In 6 months, by Star Wars Day, I would build our best retractable lightsaber ever. It had to be both stiff and stable enough to hit with, and durable enough that it wouldn't break. Simple.
Oh god.
Or at least, simple on paper. To make our saber duel ready, we had to overcome 3 challenges at the same time. First, stiffening. It's really hard to duel with a floppy blade. Most sabers have a stiff plastic tube blade, but we're using a springy magician's cane blade that can extend and retract. Basically, our blade is a long, bendy tube that can compress into a tiny coil. That's great for retraction, but not great for stiffness. While the previous version was stiff enough for light hits, it would bend hard upon impact. We needed to improve the stiffness for full duel capability. Challenge 2, stability. If our lightsaber wobbles, you can't wield it very well in a duel. Unfortunately, our saber is wobbly. Why? Our design spins the blade at high speed, so the LED strip inside looks like a pulsing, energetic blade of light, just like the movies. While it looks good, spinning the blade at high speed can make the saber wobble unpredictably, which makes it difficult to handle. The previous version was stable if you didn't hit it, but once you hit the blade hard enough, the saber went all wobbly, not good for dueling. Challenge 3, durability.
That is a fragment of a gear.
Our lightsaber needs to survive lots of dueling. However, to fit everything in a replica-sized Graflex hilt, our design pushed all the components to their limits. The LED strip, gears, mechanisms, and electronics were being pushed to their breaking point.
This LED broke off,
which meant they were likely to fail over long periods of time and extended duels. We needed to keep all the components alive even after many hits. We had 6 months to crack these 3 challenges. I was confident we could.
Oh, that's not good.
In December, we started by trying to figure out how to stabilize the blade. So we designed and tested a new stabilizer. I know, revolutionary. The old stabilizer worked well to keep the blade steady, but as soon as the blade took a hit, it would go all wobbly. After enough hits, the stabilizer itself would break. We needed a new impact-resistant stabilizer design. This new stabilizer has bendy, hit-resistant prongs that guide the blade as it comes out.
This is the new stabilizer design. Wow!
On paper, the new design should have kept the blade centered. In practice, the blade wobbled violently, got stuck, and sometimes spun in weird patterns. Back to the drawing board. I wondered if the stabilizer failed because of some weight imbalance in the chassis. The chassis is the inner part of the hilt that holds everything and spins. A weight imbalance would mean the chassis can't spin perfectly centered, causing wobbles. Since our new stabilizer is more bendy, any wobbles from weight imbalance may be amplified. So how did we test for imbalance?
Very scientific.
We rolled the chassis on the floor to see if one side naturally ended up on the bottom. And one side did, so we definitely had a weight imbalance. The ideal solution would be to add weight to the opposite side and balance it out, but we didn't have a millimeter of space to spare. To add balancing weights, we'd have to redesign the chassis. So happily, I got started on that. At the same time, we tried to find ways to stiffen the blade. One way to stiffen plastics is to heat them up and then cool them down, a process known as annealing. Using a heat gun, we did our best to anneal the magician's cane, but it barely had any effect on the stiffness.
And it's super droopy. V8, so even shorter.
And it actually ended up shortening the blade somehow. So much for that idea.
Great.
Nice. We're back in business.
In January, along with redesigning the chassis to fit balancing weights, we tried fighting the wobble with new impact-resistant stabilizers. We tested a new one, then another one, then a third one, but the results weren't great.
Why? How? Why is it randomly?
Sometimes the blade stabilized, other times it spun wildly. Once it did this,
What the It's a perfect standing blade.
which was very cool and completely useless for dueling. Also, remember how I mentioned we were pushing all the components to their limits? One of the motors kept breaking over time.
It's not spinning. So that's good to go.
We had to stop this motor from breaking to get a duel-ready lightsaber. This particular motor is important because it helps the blade retract. Something not a lot of people know about magician's canes is that you can't just push it down to retract it. You have to push it down while rotating the cane as well. This motor rotates the cane, but it kept failing from too much load. We tried a few replacement motors, eventually settling on this beefier one, which finally solved one problem with the saber. We were back in the game.
Nice. Let's go. Great. Okay,
Nice.
we're back in business.
Kind of. So my moment of truth. In February, we tried something new to stiffen the blade.
We've added a motor driver board, so this lets us spin the cane rotation motor either direction now, meaning we can spin this instead of the loosening direction that allows for retraction, we can spin it in the opposite direction that tightens this blade, and the hope is that it makes it stiffer and more dual capable.
The first tests were terrifying. Okay, nothing breaking, nothing burning. That's good. Hopefully this doesn't fly.
Nothing. Oh.
But to our surprise, the motor successfully turned both directions on command, meaning we just unlocked a blade stiffening solution for dueling. Or so we thought. The stiffening effect wasn't super strong, and the blade was still bendy on heavy swings and impacts. It was still unstable as well. At this point, I was convinced the saber's instability was caused by a weight imbalance in the chassis. With the chassis redesign, I added pockets for tiny weights that could balance the spinning chassis. We tested every small weight we could think of: steel screws, ball bearings, tungsten rods, tungsten putty, tungsten tape. We did more roll tests, more center of mass tests, more spin tests,
Going like that.
and finally we got the chassis perfectly balanced. But there was a big problem. Even after perfectly balancing the chassis, the saber still wobbled.
It's really blade dependent. Not exactly the result we were hoping for.
Turns out, balancing the chassis only helped stability a little bit. By March, the pressure was mounting.
That's not ideal.
Since we couldn't fix the saber's wobble by balancing the chassis, we tried other ways to stabilize the blade. We tested even more stabilizers, like this design that could tighten and untighten around the blade.
Currently, I'd say that was horrible.
We even tried an automatic balancing unit with sliding weights.
2 tungsten weights, they can kind of rotate around this, and we're gonna cap it and then stick this onto the end of the chassis basically and see if that helps stabilize anything.
It helped calm down the wobble a little, but it was way too big for our replica hilt, so we couldn't use it. To stiffen the blade, we tried running the cane rotation motor continuously at maximum power. This actually helped a bit,
Yes! Let's try it.
which was exciting for about 5 seconds because it was loud. Like, really loud. The motor noise drowned out the saber hum and other swing sounds. So the blade was slightly stiffer, but it sounded like a drill, not a lightsaber.
We've decreased the continual stiffening value.
We tried lowering the power to make it quieter,
And it was still loud. It was very loud. It's hella loud right now.
but it was still too loud.
Oh, why do you do this to me?
So we looked for another approach. Experimenting with the motor though, we ran into another issue.
What? Don't tell me. Bro.
The 3D printed gears attached to the motor kept breaking.
The cane rotation gear broke again. One of the teeth ripped off and it's basically shattered. The plastic gear inside here broke off of the motor shaft. The gear just cracked.
And besides the gears, the LED spool was slowly melting from the heat of the LED strip.
It's kind of insane that we're reaching those temps.
Over many activations and hit tests, these parts were getting damaged.
Head up it.
We desperately needed stronger and more heat-resistant parts. Looking to other materials, we tested ABS, PLA, nylon carbon fiber, PETG, polycarbonate, and a few others. For the small gears, nylon carbon fiber ended up being the best material. It gave us better strength at a small scale, and after switching to nylon carbon fiber, the gears never broke again. For the LED spool, heat was the main issue. The spool kept melting from the heat of our overdriven LED strip, so we switched to polycarbonate, which fixed all of our heat issues. Well, not all of them.
I think we had broken the LED strip, so
We had more pressing issues with the LED strip to solve.
I mean, the main problem is just getting warm.
Besides getting too hot, the LED strip kept failing. The LED strip makes the blade glow, but it also has another important feature. It's attached to the tip of the cane and tugs down to retract the blade. In our design, the LED strip is pulled, stretched, spooled, unspooled, and dragged over and over again as the blade extends and retracts, so it would break. It was under too much tension and we had to find a way to keep it alive longer. Our first idea to protect the LED strip was to wrap fishing line alongside it, so the line takes the tension instead of the strip.
surely this doesn't work. Because if it does, it's kind of crazy.
Oh, that's pretty strong.
But that didn't work.
That's not ideal.
The line cut into the strip and sliced it.
So we cut straight through the cable itself. That's crazy.
First failed test right here. We're gonna break more LED strips.
Then we tested tape that could attach to the LED strip and take the load off. We tried glass cloth tape,
Ooh.
Not ideal, we'll not be using this tape.
electrical tape, Kapton tape, duct tape, ultra high molecular weight tape, and fiberglass tape.
I shifted the whole table. Yeah, we're pulling only in the fiberglass, glass fiber tape, whatever. This actually works. I'm sure.
The fiberglass tape was promising and took significant load off the LED strip without breaking.
Not easy.
It looked like we had a solution. Now we had durable parts and a way to protect the LED strip, but we were facing our biggest challenge: time.
Peak engineering.
By April, we were 1 month away from our self-imposed deadline of May the 4th, Star Wars Day. And then we made the deadline very real. We booked flights to California and tickets to Star Wars Night for May 6th. The plan was to showcase our new duel-ready lightsaber there by actually dueling with it live, which meant it couldn't just work at home. It had to work well enough to bring across the world into Galaxy's Edge and demo in person in front of fellow Star Wars fans. Just one issue, the lightsaber still wasn't ready. We started testing a red LED strip,
Oh, the red looks sick.
because obviously if we were going to duel, we needed a red saber to go against our blue one.
Yes!
The red glow looked incredible. But we quickly ran into a problem.
The red really, yeah.
Too big?
We use mineral oil to lubricate the LED strips, which is what allows the strip to shoot out and spool up smoothly. However, mineral oil breaks down adhesive, specifically the adhesive attaching the fiberglass tape to our LED strip.
It's kind of destroying the whole design.
It still keeps falling off.
The tape meant to protect the LED strip kept falling off of it, which led to the LED strip dying. We tried so many things to keep the tape on the LED strip. We tested dry lubricants that wouldn't cause the tape to fall off, like PTFE spray and hexagonal boron nitride. We strengthened the tape adhesive with epoxy, 3 different kinds. We primed the LED strip surface with chemicals that would let the tape adhere better.
The adhesive is it's still coming off.
But none of these worked. The tape kept falling off, the LED strip kept breaking,
Strip has snapped into.
and we were running out of time. While trying to keep the tape on the LED strip, we also tested new ways of stabilizing the saber. We tried adding a thick brass piece to weigh down the end of the chassis, which actually helped a bit.
Floppy, but stable.
We also continued testing new stabilizers, but we were still a long way from a perfectly stable, impact-resistant blade. We were making progress, but too slowly.
Down to the wire.
By May, I started regretting my life choices. We had to make 2 working lightsabers in 4 days. And figure out how to stiffen the blades,
Can't get broke again.
and stabilize the blades, and protect the LED strips. Our first priority was finding a way to protect the LED strip. Analyzing the strip, I discovered something very unfortunate. The code I wrote to reduce the power sent to the LED strip was not at all doing its job.
It's not dimmer, so we have an issue. I think it may not be responding. Is it still?
Why is this still on?
What the?
Oh no.
No, please. What? It's still warm.
This whole time, the LED strip has been getting way too much power and overheating.
It's still fairly warm. That's crazy. Wow, that's hot.
This also explained why the LED strip was failing so often.
What?
In an overheated state, LED strips are extremely easy to damage.
The strip's gone. Fan here. We're trying to speed up this cooling.
In theory, if we're able to keep the LED strip cool, we can help keep the LED strip alive. I dived into the code to solve the issue, but we were up against the clock. After days of researching that we did not have, and help from the Crucible forum, I was able to find the software problem and fix it. Yes. Now our LED strip was less hot, more durable, and duel ready. But we were just 2 days away from our flight. We had to start assembling and preparing the lightsabers even though we hadn't solved the dueling stiffness and stability challenges yet.
Things are happening beyond comprehension. We just do what we can.
Deciding to solve the stiffness and stability after the trip, we got to work making 2 lightsabers that at least worked and could take light hits. But then, less than 24 hours before our flight, this happened.
Whoa, smoking.
Yeah, fire shifted. Oh, if I shifted. Something flammable. Sure, something shorted.
A connection came loose, which caused a short and fried the entire board. Not gonna lie, this was pretty bad. With hours left before we had to leave for the airport, I pulled an all-nighter soldering, rebuilding, and testing.
Really hope this works. Alright. Okay. Okay, we have one working saber. One working saber. Okay, we straight away pack this thing and preserve it like it's a royal artifact or something.
By some miracle, we got 2 functional prototypes working. Well, 1.5. For some reason, one of the sabers was not retracting at all. But that was a problem for future me. We packed the sabers in as much bubble wrap as humanly possible and got on the plane. And of course, after traveling across the world, both sabers needed repairs in California. So we turned the hotel room into a makerspace and started furiously fixing them.
No reason for it to fail. For sure. 100%.
Let's go. Let's go.
Just when we thought both sabers were ready to go,
No fuse.
literally less than an hour before Star Wars night,
601. Okay.
the red saber started randomly turning on and off. My heart stopped.
Anything that we can change to try to fix it now, we can do that. Like anything. It's currently not.
Yeah.
Try to flash the code again. Like
flashing.
Right, it's at some point in the rotation.
Yes, at some point in the rotation, suggesting a slip ring.
Because the only thing running from here is the split ring and the...
Holy biscuits.
We tried everything we could think of to fix it, but eventually realized what the problem was. The slip ring had broke. An electrical component that had dutifully worked for hundreds and hundreds of tests had randomly broke when it mattered the most. And the worst part, we had no replacement. So we ended up bringing just the blue saber to Star Wars Night. Not the finalized duel-ready version like we wanted, but the version that worked. At Star Wars Night, people didn't see the 6 months of broken gears, fried boards, and failed tests. They saw a real-life lightsaber and their reactions were amazing.
Alright, 3, 2, 1.
Oh my god, wow!
Sick.
That is so sick!
I thought it was like one of the flick outs at first, and then I saw them just like, whoa! That was so cool.
Hold on, wait, do that again.
Oh, I got it.
What?
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you. Thank
That
you
was
so much.
awesome. Whoa, this lightsaber is way cooler than ours.
Does it actually come out and go back in?
Yeah, it's a extendable.
Dude, that is so cool! Thank you. Oh, where'd you get it? Oh, I made it. I made it myself.
He built it himself.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
That makes bad. Wow. Okay.
Where's your blade?
Here.
Where did you get that?
It's awesome. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's sick. What the hell?
Wow, yours is insane, I can't even...
Whoa! Right.
It is
Whoa! Hold on. I've seen this.
Holy cow,
dude! I've seen that. Made ya.
I'm good.
Turned around and I was like, holy! I saw it come out and then my brain didn't process.
Chosen to speak with you.
It is not wise to stand against my truth. It is even less to defy it. That is not advised.
Seeing people react to the unfinished saber made me want to finish the duel-ready version even more. We were so close to showing the best version ever, but we missed our deadline. That frustration became fuel. When we got back, we immediately tackled the stiffening challenge. Funnily enough, the breakthrough happened the night before flying to California, although I didn't realize it at the time. Because I was tired that night, I accidentally soldered one wrong connection.
Yeah, so I accidentally soldered it to data 2 instead of
That's free one. Okay, to be fair, they're like next to each other.
That wrong connection made the cane tighten instead of loosen during retraction.
That's wrong. Okay, so it's not switching direction. Why?
The LED strip tugged with all its strength to retract the blade, but it didn't budge and it didn't retract. In the moment, I was stressed trying to figure out what went wrong. But after reviewing the footage back home, I realized something else. The blade became super stiff when that happened. That was the key. If we tighten the cane while pulling really, really hard in the LED strip, the whole blade locks and becomes much stiffer. Sounds obvious, but the surprising part was
Nice. It's not even hot.
the newly cooled LED strip was now durable enough to withstand that force. For good measure, we added back the fiberglass tape reinforcement and finally found a lubricant that wouldn't cause the tape to fall off. Silicone oil.
Okay, so this. Oh, this is actually very. This is great. I think it works. That's pretty cool. Okay. Okay, I think this works. Because that was the stiffest it's ever been, I think.
So we finally found the answer to stiffening the blade. Right after extension, we tightened the magician's cane while pulling down hard with the LED strip to keep the blade rigid and lock it in place. We only had one challenge left to overcome: stability. After countless versions, we finally found an impact-resistant stabilizer design that could keep the blade straight during dueling. It has strong but flexible prongs to absorb any harsh impacts and keep the blade centered. In addition, using the sensors on the board, we tried writing an algorithm to detect critical speed wobbles and adjust the spin speed in real time to straighten the blade.
There we go. Yo, it actually works.
To our shock, it actually worked, and we had a stable blade.
That's really good.
So here are the final upgrades to our retractable lightsaber. To stiffen the blade, we added a new motor driver to tighten the cane, beefed up the cane rotation motor, and increased how hard the LED strip pulls on the tip of the cane. To stabilize the saber, we redesigned the chassis to fit tungsten balancing weights, added a brass weight at the bottom of the chassis, made a new impact-resistant stabilizer, and wrote an anti-wobble algorithm. To make the lightsaber durable, we remade the LED spool in polycarbonate, adjusted the power sent to the LED strip, and reinforced the LED strip with a fiberglass tape backing. We also printed critical components in nylon carbon fiber and thickened load-bearing parts. None of these changes were a total fix by themselves, but together the saber finally started looking duel ready. There's only one thing left to do: test it. So that was sick. I felt like a Jedi wielding a real lightsaber against a Sith Lord. Especially because the chassis spinning creates this gyroscopic effect that is actually accurate to lightsaber lore. The spinning creates resistance against moving it, so you actually need to use force, or the force, to swing the lightsaber. Also, I tuned the speaker sounds for the red saber to sound like Vader's lightsaber.
Very nice.
I'm pretty happy about that. In addition, we added a quick connect feature that lets you swap blade colors more easily. Like always, the design files, material links, and tutorials for this project are free for the first 48 hours after this video is posted. After 48 hours, only HeroTech members on our website or our Patreon have access. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss out on new projects. So what's next? Of course, the blade still has some flex, especially on heavy hits. While that's good because it means the cane absorbs the impact, I want to stiffen the blade even further, so it doesn't bend at all on heavy hits. I'm gonna keep improving this design, also looking at areas like runtime, retraction speed, and user friendliness. I'm also trying to manufacture custom LED strips that are truly invincible for ultimate longevity. I'll port this design into other hilt styles as well. Vader's hilt would look awesome. And finally, I'll keep refining the design to make it easier to build. Looking back, I failed a lot on this 6-month quest. And I mean a lot. I actually don't think I failed so much at anything ever. It took longer than I planned and it was harder than I hoped. I questioned my sanity multiple times. But I kept going. Learned from the failures. Kept trying new solutions. I don't know if it was determination or delusion, but what I do know is, well, I'm really glad I kept going. Thanks for watching, and whatever you're doing, keep going. You just might make it.